What's going on, guys? So a lot of you have requested an axolotl episode. Axolotls are not only the perfect pet amphibian, they are growing in popularity all the time. So I'm here in Stillwater, Minnesota at M&A Axolotls. We're gonna get a tour of their incredible axolotl facility and learn why axolotls may be the perfect pet amphibian. I'm Dave Kaufman, and these are my Reptile Adventures. Alright, so this is Miranda here at M&A Axolotls and Aquatic.
Yes.
How did this all start for you?
Well, my son was the first one to get an axolotl. Named it Axel. Lived upstairs in the tank in his bedroom for a while. Then my spouse decided to get a couple more axolotls. Put them all together. Well, they were all bred from different parents, so we knew the lineage on them at least. And they bred together. So we started hatching all the eggs, and here we are now.
Here we are. So how many axolotls do we have down here?
Roughly right now, probably about 200.
200. Started with one less than a year ago.
Well, its highest point was 648.
648.
Yep.
That's a lot of little axolotls to care for. All right, so who do we have in this enclosure right here?
These are all little golden albinos. So as you can tell, their eyes blend in with their body, which gets their albino name for. They are very iridophores on them, so all those little glittery spots will actually stay like that for their life. And the mom over in the adult tank actually has quite a bit on her too.
Gotcha. We'll meet her in a little bit. So now, do you have these separated by age? How do you have these all?
Generally, most of them are separated by coloring, except for this tank, and one of my other tanks has a couple mixed in too, because they also go by size. So most of them have, like the melanoids in the wild, we have a lot of them, so we're able to keep them colored and sized. But these guys up here, these are the only colorings that we have of these. So we have to size them and color them. So these guys are all relatively the same size. So they're just kind of a mixture of them.
Gotcha. And how do you color them? With crayons or markers, or how do you do that? Sharpies.
Sharpies.
That's what I would do.
You know, all the polka dotting and stuff, some Sharpies.
It's gotta be hard to do.
Yep.
I mean, look at the polka dotting on this guy. It must have taken you an hour to do that. So, you know, for people that are just getting into axolotls, how many morphs are there?
Off the top of my head, I would probably say between 15 and 20.
15 and 20?
Yep.
That's a good start. A couple more years, they'll be 40. A couple more years after that, they'll be 100.
Yep.
That's the way it works.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so here we have a wild type axolotl.
Yep. So those ones will always have like a darker color undertone, or a lot of times a green undertone, but they'll always have that spotting on them. So the dad to all of these guys are upstairs in my son's room, and he is a wild type axolotl.
And he is a wild type.
But he is a true wild, so he also has gold rings around his eyes, which means that he was bred from a true wild axolotl native down from Mexico.
All right, so this is only one shelving unit down here. So I noticed that you really have nothing but an aerator in your enclosures. There's no substrate, there's no hides.
I generally don't have the lights on down here for them, so they don't need the hides or anything like that. If you had lights on all the time down here, you would want to give them something to hide in. But since I usually don't have the lights on unless I'm down here doing tank maintenance, I don't. As for substrates, when they're this little, you don't want to have anything in there because it can cause an impaction inside of them and they can struggle to poop it out or anything like that. So bare bottom is best for them at this size. Once they get over about 6 inches in size, you can have very fine sand on the bottom, but you do not ever want to have rocks or stones or anything in there, because they can and will suck things in up to 3 times their size of their head. And they will choke and it will cause an impaction in them.
You know how many times that almost happened to me throughout my life?
So you never want to have anything but fine sand in their tanks when they're over 6 inches.
All right, so this is a great place to start. We've got an entire other half of the basement all full of all of these really cool axolotls. Morph Market is the #1 online marketplace for all your reptiles and amphibians. You can search through over 60 categories to find your perfect new pet, whether it's the latest boa constrictor morph or your 150th crested gecko. It's all right here at one place, Morph Market. So over here we have guppies, and these aren't really pet guppies, are they?
No, they are food for your axolotl. So say you go on vacation for a week or two and you do not know anybody to come over and feed your axolotl, toss 6-7 guppies in your axolotl tank and they'll snack on them while you're gone.
So let's talk about feeding for axolotls.
So as little babies like this, you want to feed them once a day for sure. Once they get to be full size, once every couple days, once every 2-3 days works. They eat night crawlers, red wigglers, Daphnia when they're this little. They can eat guppies and cherry shrimp. So pretty much any kind of a worm that you can get your hands on. Otherwise, the other option, if you don't want to go for the live stuff, is they do eat pellets as well. And all of our guys down here are pellet trained as well as live food trained. So they'll eat any of it.
So it's pretty easy to feed and care for your axolotl.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on over here, we're going to see this in a second, but over here, we've got little baby guys over here. So how often do they breed and how many eggs do they lay at a time?
The male can and will breed the female to death. So he will try to breed her as often as she is not pregnant. And it takes them one day to take the sperm in. And then 24 hours later, they are laying the eggs, and they can lay anywhere from 200 to 1,000 eggs at a time.
So if you want to breed axolotls, it's a lot easier than, let's say, ball pythons.
Yes. It is very easy. So we keep all of our males and our females separated. Our females stay down here, and then our males are upstairs in my son's fish tank.
Gotcha. And you only pair them up, obviously.
When we want to breed them.
When you want to breed them. And how often do you do that?
We have only bred 2 pairs so far. So we have bred our wild male with our golden albino female, and then these babies right here are the wild male with our melanoid female.
We have babies over here, and this is basically how you set up the babies, just in these little
Yep, they get water changes
tubs.
every day out of there.
So how important is clean water to axolotls?
It is very important. If you don't cycle your tank beforehand, you will cause ammonia poisoning in them, so their gills will start to recede back, their slime coats will peel off, and they'll start burning. Water changes are very important. Like, these guys don't have any kind of filtration in them, so you will want to change their water every single day. Our females that we'll see in a little bit over there, they have a canister filter hooked up that's cycled. So their tank, I do about a 20% water change once a week on it just to keep those nitrate levels down. But they do require some very clean water and some tank maintenance weekly at least.
Gotcha.
But it's just very small.
And so are you using tap water and then adding dechlorinator?
Yep, I use our sink water, tap water, we have well water, hard water. They actually very much enjoy hard water, and then I use Sechem Prime to dechlorinate the water.
Gotcha, and it's basically that simple. You don't need to.
You don't need to add anything else in or anything like that. Cold water and add some Sechem Prime in it.
And then testing pH levels, is that?
It's nice when you start out, so you want to make sure that you have that hardness. So if you have a water softener, you'll probably have to get the chemicals to harden the water up a little bit. So when you do water changes, you'll have to add a little bit in and stuff like that. But if you have a well water system, your water is just fine. We've tested the pH when we first set the tank up, and then every once in a while I'll test it there on to make sure that when they do water changes through our city, that they don't change the hardness of the water.
Over here, we obviously have worms. And these are just angleworms?
Red wigglers.
Red wigglers. Say that 3 times fast. And then you produce your own worms in this tub here.
So I just have a little worm farm set up in here.
Look at that.
Yeah, there they are. Find them in here.
And what is the substrate that you have them on?
It's just dirt.
Just dirt?
Yep, dirt with a little bit of wood chips mixed in. And then I just toss in some of our extra fruits and vegetables that are starting to go bad.
And it's just that easy?
Yep.
All right, so these guys have a date with destiny right now. Let's go feed some axolotls.
Rainbow Mealworms is not only a proud sponsor of this channel, they are the premier source for all your reptile food needs. They grow all of their quality insects in-house, and I use them exclusively for all my insect-eating reptiles. So place your order today at rainbowmealworms.net or click the link in the description below.
So over here, we have another shelf of really cool axolotls, and how often do you feed them, and how much do you feed them?
I come down here every day and feed them, and if I feed them worms, I feed them generally about a worm a day. If I feed them pellets, I'll kind of put a handful of pellets in there, let them graze on it for a half hour, come down and take the rest of them out so it doesn't dirty the water up too much.
All right, so there is a danger of overfeeding your axolotl.
Generally, when they're this young, you can, but once they get to be full size, our females know when to stop. They'll take the worm in, and if they decide that they're full, they'll spit it right back out.
Oh, well, there you go.
So once they get big enough, there's not really a danger of overfeeding them.
Okay. So down here we have something that we haven't seen yet. These are copper hypomelanistic axolotls. When it comes to genetics of axolotls, are there any codoms, or is it pretty much all recessive?
Kind of all recessive. So the mom was a golden albino, but we only got maybe, I don't know, 10 albinos or golden albinos out of her clutch. So it's kind of just like a recessive, like you kind of just get a mixture randomly.
So albino is recessive.
Yep.
And what about the copper hypomelanistics?
We don't know how we got that color out of it because neither of them have that in their lineage. So it's just kind of random.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about pricing. Somebody wants to buy their first axolotl. What is the most inexpensive axolotl they can buy for their first pet?
Generally, it is the wild types because they are the most common coloring morph that you get out of any breed that you breed together. So they usually generally run about anywhere from $70 to $80 for a wild type.
For a wild type.
Yep.
And then if they want an albino?
They usually go up about $10 each coloring. So albinos usually go up to about $80, and then leucistics anywhere from $90 to $100. Melanoids are usually $100, $110-ish, and then our copper hypomelanistics usually are about $120.
All right, so in this big 75 behind us here, we've got, how many? We have
There's five back in there.
Five back in
together.
there. Look at that, they're all cuddling. They've got this whole tank, but yet they all love each other so much back there. When you keep adults like this, adult breeders, do you want to keep them in a bigger tank like this?
Yes, so generally on average, one axolotl, even a full size, you need a 20-gallon tank. Anything thereafter each additional axolotl, you need an additional 10 gallons. So we have 5 females in here, which is plenty because this is a 75-gallon tank.
And these 5 adult females are obviously breeders.
Yep.
And then how many males do you have?
We have 3 males upstairs.
So that's basically your entire breeding population is 5 females, 3 males.
Yep.
And you get hundreds from that breeding group.
Yep. So the next ones that we actually want to breed this coming fall, winter time, is our spotted one in here. She's actually a starburst, but she actually glows, so she's a GFP starburst.
Ooh.
She is actually about a $700 axolotl with
Really?
the coloring and the glow that she has. And then we want to breed her with our GFP albino that we have upstairs. So we're going to get a lot of glowing babies out of that clutch. So those ones are the ones that we want to breed this coming fall, winter time after some of these guys move more.
What advice do you have for people that are looking to get their first axolotl?
Read up. Everything that you read a lot of says that they are a lot of work. Message some people that have the axolotl pages and ask, because it's really not that hard of work. The biggest thing is just cycling your tank beforehand so that they go into a clean tank, that they won't get burns or anything from ammonia poisoning. And you're pretty much set. They just require minimum things. They don't require a light. They don't require a heater in your tank. A sponge filter or a canister filter is good. And cold water. You don't even need to put warm water in there. We keep all of our tanks at about 64 degrees.
So axolotls may be the easiest pet amphibian to keep and care for and breed.
Yeah, they're not that hard. I get all the feeding done, cleanings done, everything on all of these tanks in an hour each night.
Wow.
So it's not that much actually.
All right, so Miranda, thank you so much for giving us a tour. It is amazing the knowledge that you have gained from just being relatively new to this.
Oh, yes.
And I can't wait to see you at another expo and see where you take these axolotls. I think that you are on your way to being the biggest axolotl breeder in Minnesota, and it is so cool to see.
Thank you.
So if you want to get your very first axolotl, the first thing you should do before you buy any pet is do your research, ask a lot of questions. You should do your research first, then your enclosure, then your axolotl. So guys, real quick, I just want to give a real quick shout out and a thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, that link is in the description below. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and until the next reptile adventure, love the planet, feed your reptile obsession, and rattle on.